It was a route Volkswagen. Route Volkswagen was a very dangerous place, very dangerous route, and it had cornfields lined up on both sides of the route. And you could, when you're driving down there, you can't see into those cornfields. It was just prime for ambush. And what the enemy would do is they would set up in those cornfields and blast vehicles with RPGs. And so we had the MRAP by this time. Now the MRAP vehicle was great for the IED. That's why a lot of I mean I hit an IED and survived. It was great for IED protection, but the side armor wasn't as great. So these RPGs would just hit the side and then blow through and pepper everybody inside with the shrapnel. And so later in the they had come up with these cages, but we didn't have those. So we get a mission. And, people think that we go on these noble terrorist hunting missions where we're kicking in doors and getting the bad guys before they get us, right? But instead, here's what we get. So Hicks spins up the platoon one night. He goes, tomorrow we're going to drive down Volkswagen to Margall, which was another little outpost. We're second platoon. We were third platoon, second platoon's at Margall. And we're going to drive out there and we're going to pick up a few dudes to drive them back here so they can get on a helicopter and fly out to R&R. So we're just picking up dudes to get on the Freedom Bird, go on R&R. And so so we drive out there with the specific. We're just going to drive out there. Now Hicks is like, now why the bird, the helicopter can't just fly to Margall and pick them up there and fly them to Bagram? I don't know, but we're going to play chauffeur. So we drive out there to Margall, and everything's cool on the way out. And I knew it was kind of eerie because second platoon sergeant, I could hear second platoon sergeant, there's platoon sergeant over the radio, radioing into our platoon sergeant Manny Fresh, telling him some stuff like, "Hey, you got to be careful." Second platoon had already been hemmed up down there, and we were oblivious to it. Mm-hmm. And so we get to Margall, and we pick up the dudes going on R&R. One of them was a medic, so we got second platoon's medic, and he loads up in our vehicle. And so then we start heading back to where we just came from, Fob Boris. And somewhere, so then we got the call. This is where Bo Bergdahl comes in. So after we picked up the dudes to go on R&R, they wanted us to stop and on the way back and search some houses because some legitimate intel, they thought Bo Bergdahl was in the area, the guy that ran off. And so so we stopped an element of our patrol dismounts, and they're searching these houses in the neighborhood, looking for Bo Bergdahl. And when they come up with these stats, they show up like when they say like 6 or 7 people died looking for Bergdahl. There's countless amount of people that were probably injured looking for that guy. So I'm sitting in a vehicle, Stan, Joey C's up in the gun, and we're just waiting. We're just sitting in the wadi while the other part of the platoon is searching for Bergdahl. And it's like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, and then Stan's over the radio kind of panicking like, "Hey, we need to get out of here. What are y'all doing?" I mean, hell, if they didn't plan on pushing us, they probably will since we're just sitting here. And then after about 3 hours out of the blue, just boom, the RPG just blasted into the vehicle behind me. And boom, and I look back there and you just see smoke just fluttering up through the vehicle. And then as we're sitting, and all of a sudden I see this dirt kicking up, toot, 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 where the small arms rounds are coming in. And so, and then I'm looking at the vehicle at this point, and then another RPG just comes in, boom, right in the side. And at that point, Gus was the gunner. And as soon as that RPG hit, Gus he just fell in the vehicle. It blew the sniper cover off the vehicle. And then I just screamed at Sergeant Stan. I said, "They're hit, Sergeant, they're hit. They're hit again." And I thought Gus was dead. I thought I'd seen that thing impact and seen him drop. And another heroic old Gus, just like a warrior, he stood back up into that turret, wounded and bleeding. He was wounded. He was bleeding. Most of the people in that vehicle were bleeding. And he just starts lobbing Mark 19 grenades into the cornfields. Boom, 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 boom. And so then I screamed at Joey C. I said, "Joey, point that 50 to your 9 o'clock and fire that bitch, whatever. Because you could see like whenever the RPG fires, you can see the massive plume of smoke. That smoke just rises from where it was fired from. And so I started seeing the smoke, and I was like, fire at him, Joey. So Joey started laying the 50 cal. He started laying it down, butterfly tree, boom, 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 boom. And all this shit was going on, and the vehicle that got hit, KG was driving and took a direct RPG dome to the head, to the head. RPG 7, boom. And like you'd seen the picture, I mean, it made his helmet look like shredded cheese. And somehow he lived through. So he took the brunt of that blast through the head, and Hicks was sitting shotgun, the squad leader, and he took the remaining shrapnel. And so they were pretty screwed up, that whole vehicle. And it kept coming. And so all of a sudden Joey's firing back. And then finally I see Sergeant Rubio. He was the gung-ho Puerto Rican Sergeant Rubio. I loved him. I see him running beside a vehicle coming towards us. He was part of the group searching for Bergdahl. And then I seen Sergeant Rubio, and that kind of made me feel better. And I yelled at Sergeant Stan. I said, hey, Sergeant, here comes Sergeant Rubio. We need to help those guys. I said, we got a medic back here, which was 2nd Platoon's medic going to R&R. And he's like, go. So we jump out the vehicle and we sprint towards the hit vehicle. And I tried to get the driver's side door to open to where KG was. I couldn't get it to open. And so then I immediately run around the back, open up the back door. And then here comes Gus, Jordy. These guys just come filing out the back, and they're bleeding. They're all wounded. And then so I walk around to the front, and at that point, Stan and the medic and some other guys, they succeed in getting KG out. So I look at KG. This guy took damn RPG to the dome, and he's just he's just foaming from the mouth. His eyes rolled back. I didn't think he's gonna make it. And so the medic was working on him. Stay with us, buddy. Doing what he could do. And then I noticed Hicks, who took the other the rest of it. He's walking around. He's had a massive concussion. He's walking around. He's trying to leave, but you can tell his thoughts were a day late and a dollar short. He did massively concussed. And I remember he's trying to cut a stretcher down, and I was like, it's okay, Sergeant. We don't need that. You're going to be good. And then I knelt by the vehicle, scanning through the cornfields. And the area was too hot. The medevac bird wasn't going to leave there, or wasn't going to land there. So we had to get the vehicles fired up, and we hauled ass back to Margall, where we just came from to get these people. We haul ass back to Margall, and then that's where the medevac comes in. They get Gus, Jordy, Hicks, and then Kevin, KG, they had him on a stretcher, and they flew him out of there. And he ended up instantly to a military hospital. From what I don't know the extent of his injuries, but he had a traumatic brain injury. He's probably missing 70 to 80% of his vision and hearing. And so they get back. And I just remember that 2nd Platoon medic that was supposed to be going on the Freedom Bird, moping back up the hill. Like, damn, man, we got to stay here. And then that's when Sergeant Rubio, we're going to drive back to Fort Boris, and Sergeant Rubio's like, hey, man, you mind gunning the hit vehicle? And I'm sure I'd be honored to. And so I go into the back of the vehicle, and it just blood all over the gear. All their gear was still in there. There was blood all over the place, blood everywhere. The Mark 19 was damaged, so I took somebody's saw, put the saw up in the turret. So we drive back down there. Okay, so before we take off, we're sitting in a perimeter. We're about to leave at the base of the hill where Margall was, and that's when this vehicle comes driving towards our perimeter. And I notice he's waving a white flag. He's waving a white flag out the window. And so the vehicle creeps up to our perimeter, and the guy gets out, he walks around to the passenger side and opens the door, and he grabs this kid. It looked to be a 6 or 7 year old kid, and he grabs his son, and he starts walking towards our perimeter. This kid he's just lying limp in his arms, 7 or 8 year old kid, and he's walking towards our perimeter crying. And I'm looking at him, and I look up at Joey C and Rusty, and none of us said a word. And so then the man walks to the middle of the perimeter to where Manny Fresh, the platoon sergeant, and Stan, the squad leader, are, and he just approaches him with his dead son, and he's crying. And I just remember the only thing we didn't fire any small arms round. Everything came from the gunner. They were either 50 cal or Mark 19 rounds. And so the man's crying with his son, and Stan and Manny Fresh are showing him a 50 cal round and a Mark 19 round. Mark 19 round about this big. And he's trying to explain to the man that there's no way the kid could have been killed by one of us, because the bulky rounds would have done way much more damage. This kid looked like he'd been shot with small arms. And we were trying to explain to them, no, I think this was one of yours. This wasn't one of us. And obviously there was nothing going to be done. And I just never forget the man. He just walks back to his car holding his dead son. They get into the car and they drive off. And who knows, did he become an enemy that day? I mean, who knows? And so then that's when I went to gun the vehicle to drive back to Fob Boris, and drove right back through the scene of the ambush, get back to the base. And that's when all the dudes who weren't on the mission, rushing up to help us out, and, ammo, links, and brass, all, blood.